which will be SVB Shane Van Boening against Pijus Labutis. Pijus here last week in Bosnia for the European Open. Well, Scott Frost joining me. Scott, you know, you're a great player, and you know, neither one of us really got to play in this kind of round robin before, this extensive and this much play. You're a player.
Yeah, it's something I want to ask you. I mean, really, I think a good start can only don't have to play perfect, get a couple good things to
I remember correctly, the fourth year of the PLP. Doesn't take it down, but that could just be a bit of a coincidence. I think even though it would have been oh no, excuse me, 2 years ago. Then SVB last year, which there were some flips here and there. I think it was Solinsky that had a real good.
Yeah, it was funny. I asked this morning, and I said, so how do you start this out? So we know Shane, and that's all. Basically, the fittest is going
to talk about him. Look at this kick shot, of course, trying. You ever heard me talk? Because he's so young and just kind of hit the scene in a long time. And what I mean by that is all these players have great strokes, obviously, but when you talk about, oh, you want it straight, you want it pure, you want the timing to be good, and something that holds up under pressure, I couldn't agree more as far as AJ Menace. That's why I said that I thought Tyler Steyer, even though he came off a rough tournament and changing to new equipment, I think it sets up well for him to get comfortable, and a guy who's in great shape and young.
Yeah, I'm putting a lot of time in here the last couple of days in this room is Tyler Steyer. SV or last night, JJ, but I can't fault him there. If you remember last year, we all remember historic practice week for SVB. I think he spent somewhat 6 to 8 hours on the table every day of the week. Towards the end, well, he was pretty fried.
Yeah, but I also think that tells you about what he thinks about it. European Open, of course, he lost that lead 8-4 against a very in-tune Maciel. But I think he's very satisfied with his game right now and very happy how he's playing. So it doesn't feel like with all the pull coming that Open. I think last year he had a little spell, maybe a little ice fishing before the PLP, so wanted to do a little more to prepare.
Yeah, he just wants to get into this. You see the cue ball drift off just a little bit. This is no problem.
Yeah, what happens is with Shane, when the ball's laid tough, I always feel like he's still the best. I really do. Of course, you can't deny Filler or Federer, but what happens when you're changing tables and, of course, the new felt, different room, I think you're going to see a lot of players that get out of line with position, and if you let that bother you at first, it could be very taxing. Or I think Shane's going to, of course, always try to play great position, but not worry if he's a little out of line, you know.
Yeah, you've talked about it, Jeremy, and we've taught a little bit together back in the States, but you'll say a pro will miss-hit 2 or 3 balls within a rack. The difference is they just don't miss the ball they're going at.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And just like any sport, you know, the better you are, the more, of course, closer to perfect you get. But some good sports aren't really built around perfect. It's about that margin for error. And this guy here has had a lot through his career and very good with the break. So, but Pijus Labutis, there he is. We haven't got to see him much at the table yet, but we will.
So one of my favorite players to watch, Labutis. He's got a unique style, but it's just sweet. Really look for him to do big things within the next year. He's knocking on the door, it seems like, in almost every event he plays.
Yeah, and he's doing well because he's a hard guy to beat twice. He's just one of those players that doesn't fall off his game. You know, we may not remember him in his career like a filler to knock in these balls that are just unbelievable, or Jason Shaw, but he just doesn't have many subpar matches, and that can do you wonders here at the PLP.
So you got to go over just a piece of this. Is this a full cue here, Jeremy?
Yeah, I think he can. Now the Rassen jump's really a little easier than a lot of tables, a little thicker slate. So I kind of like the full cue more, just to get a little more movement on the cue ball as well.
Yeah, and that's his MO, right? He's one of the best with the full cue. All that power.
Yeah, I think he's changed to it. It's got the white ferrule there. Probably get somewhat long and straight. Wow, what a roll there.
And lucky.
And, of course, there is a kick to the short rail nearest Pijus, but it's one you have to judge, especially if you're going at a soft speed, which most would like to go somewhat light here. Go first behind the two, because it's going to spread.
Yeah, it's going to lengthen big time, so a lot of gap.
Yeah, do you take your chances hitting it firm? I think that's what he's going to do. That keeps the line on the cue ball better. Now he went soft, so got to judge it well. Wow, what a hit.
This is unbelievable. This is definitely the best shot I've seen on this table so far today. We're only just over a match in.
Yeah, Shane kind of looked to the pool gods a little bit there as he is approaching, like ball in hand, hoping for a better kick shot in a moment.
And we are playing the 3-foul rule. 2 more for SVB will be loss of game.
Now, do you go straight across if you can just wiggle the two, or do you try to go behind the 8?
I like straight across. I think that's something you would do. Getting behind the 8 might be tricky, but on the new cloth, can you even track the cue ball all the way back over? I don't know. That's probably why he's held here, JJ.
Yeah, I was just wondering how much of that top cushion he wanted to leave for this kick shot. Oh, Shane's going to the short cue.
Oh, I feel like there's a lot of room to get him behind that 3 if you go to the top rail.
Yeah, it's another one you'd have to judge, but this one, you can hit a rail first. You can have the 2 clip the 3. I mean, good things are going to happen, so he must really like this, not choosing or electing to kick at this ball. Can hit it full, though, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think maybe he can hit more of it than we even think. So if he can catch the right side of the 2 or middle right side of the 2, he's in a pretty good shape here.
Yeah, you must see something we don't.
Yeah, this is going to be the first real offensive look that Labutis is going to give us, and it'll be a nice one. Not much of a pre-stroke in Labutis' game. He just kind of dials down in and then lets it go. But real compact and then fluid towards the end.
Yeah, I see that from some players to where they don't take that one longer pre-stroke. To me, I always like doing that myself and trying to incorporate at least one, maybe. Most don't do many.
Tyler Steyer leading the Martian 2-1 on table number 2. Wong. Guap Wong trailing 2-1.
Should be okay. Just come straight down the left side. He got into it a little bit.
Yeah, is he flirting with the 9 here at all? Is it that thin and can't really go forward, or he's going to crash to the 8? Can he avoid the 9, Jay?
I think with a smooth, soft draw stroke, even if he catches, I don't think it'd be a whole lot of the 9 ball. Could go forward. Really, even if he contact the 8, really hard luck not to come away with something going forward. 2 cushions. I'd much rather do that than put a lot of inside English.
Yeah, it becomes missable. There was a little flinch there.
Yeah, and that was him trying to come with inside and kill the ball, and didn't really catch that second cushion early like he would have with the straight ball or maybe a hair of outside. It's amazing how the percentages of the mistake costing are really slim, but pull gods, they kind of know how that works a little better than we do.
Yeah, that's weak. So Shane's got options here. Do you chip it 1 rail or probably to the second rail, the 8 to the top rail, right?
Yeah, kind of like with the new felt, and it's been really dry in the arena. And last week it was, this week it's gonna. I like cutting it more than double banking it. Oh wow, I didn't even think that went.
Well, it clearly didn't. I guess you wouldn't expect him to shoot it if you didn't think he could make it, but boy, that was long by some margin.
Yeah, and just, you know, obviously if you're in a broke-in felt a little more, I think that's more playable. But anytime you want to tighten it on a slick felt, actually more speed usually doesn't help you that much because the ball gets hopping a little bit. Easy to overcut this. Sweet.
Yeah, nothing extremely clean here yet, but it is early and a lot of pool to play.
Yeah, I talked about this last week with Labutis. You saw him add the extension, and the only thing I figured out is when he likes to stun the ball. Most players play with the extension and then take it off for certain shots, whether it be elevated, soft spin, something like that. Where you'll see him, he plays without it, and then when he needs to stun the balls, the only thing I figured out is when he adds that extra weight.
Another look on table number 2. Steyer leading 3-1. Looks good, Jeremy, from what I've been watching. We have another view of table 2 here from our comm box.
Yeah, and he's since underperforming and not playing his best. I think even the wins were a struggle at times for Tyler in the European Open, but spent a lot of time on the practice table those last few days of the European Open. I'm sure he spent plenty here in the room for the PLP. Nice break off. He's going to love where the 2-ball ends up. Little thin, but not bad.
And as the 3 player did the 4 rune, it's day.
Yeah, I think the 3's locked up a little bit, but even with the new felt, I think he's got an angle to kind of come 2 rails at it, maybe into it, maybe short side. A little bit of awkward cueing, of course, like always, all ball fouls.
Yeah, can he avoid the 8, Jay?
I think so, pretty easily, I think.
And he's coming towards the purple 5, probably, right?
ish. Yeah, it should open a little bit on the second cushion. I think he's going to be all right. Well, he's got the side. I wouldn't be too unhappy there.
Yeah, we talked about these sides last match. They are snug.
Yeah, and every venue plays a little different, it seems. And many players commented how soft the tables played last week. Now, they weren't easy, of course, but we've seen them get really brutal at times on the WNT. And, you know, some players thought it was the carpet, the difference in the carpet compared to some venues. And there's that brutal side pocket you were talking about. But the weather's absolutely perfect here today. Has been the last 2 days. A little chilly, of course, with the sunshine out. I think they're going to play pretty dry overall here this week.
Yeah, the corner's under 4 inches. 3 and 7/8, I believe they're saying.
Yeah, I've heard different things. 3.9, 3 and 7/8. I think pretty equivalent either way. But one thing about the sides, you don't have a rail to run the ball in and maybe get a little forgiveness here and there. So the sides are going to be brutal.
Yeah, this shot right here, right up Van Boening's alley. Loves to thump this ball in. He'll probably just smooth it. Doesn't need to power it.
Yeah, Shane playing, of course, with new equipment. Still always a Q-Tech, of course, but he's got his new SVB Gen 2 Q out. Playing with the short extension. Shane will change it up here and there. And it's got to slow down. And that's where you really got to be aware of the speed you come into the shot with, just because it doesn't grab quite as much. The felt's new. Doesn't have the lower left, I don't think. Not sure you can even get to that side of the 6.
Yeah, and this is a little bit awkward here, this cut. I don't believe he's got a full pocket to the corner.
9-ball action, maybe.
Well, you can't get any cleaner than that.
Yeah, and anytime you're behind the ball and you knock that kind of ball in, what it does, of course, is you just start to really trust what you're looking at, right? Because that blind pocket from behind, it can be a little questionable. Yeah, really nice.
Well, Jeremy, this rack, kind of like what you've touched on in the past, they'll get a little bit out of line, but they don't miss the ball. Well, this is a perfect example.
You can see Shane up 2-1. Tyler Steyer gets to the hill on table 2 at 4-1.
Each one of these guys will play 15 matches this week. A lot of pool to be played. I do expect the early matches to be a little patchy. It's a different venue in the same building. We like it. Much more intimate. 2 tables in the main arena. 2 tables on the side to practice. I believe SVB has the one here to the lower right. Notice the cue ball a little bit more center of that box. Did not make the 2 balls he intended there, but he will definitely take them. Carried a good angle to the pink 4 next. Really all about getting good on this 4. I think the rest is history. Well, watch out middle. Watch out middle. Yeah, so I'm a little bit shocked that he even played it like that. I thought he'd dig into it a little bit more. Just kind of leveled out there. Where did you really think it was going, Shane? And you know you just can't level out on those shots, right? This new cloth's going to spread that cue ball. Labutis going to take full advantage.
And you'd like to always think, excuse me, that he didn't miss his mark, but was he just trying to command the speed and not worried about the side, thinking, well, if I never hit it hard enough to get it aside, I ain't got to worry about the line so much? Yeah, I think Pijus probably almost overcut that one a little bit, but once he saw the one ball go down, I think felt like the rack was probably over. But now it gets the tire match.
And over to table 2, Steyer, purple 5 to close this out, 5 games to 1. Tell you what, Nguyen Hoa Thong had a real good tournament here at the European Open this last week, so I didn't really expect it to be a blowout, but a race to 5 in this format. It's been all Steyer.
Yeah, and that's why it is a long-term kind of thing, right? Those races to 9, races to 10 we saw, and then 11 and 13 towards the end. But we saw a lot of 5-1s and 5-2s and stuff like that to start those matches. And here at the PLP, that match is over when it gets to that point. These races to 5. So I wouldn't say different mentality, but maybe know you're playing so many matches, win or lose. You can really maybe psychologically try and swing with a little more confidence and know you're may cost you a shot here and there early, but you're looking to win the tournament. So
yeah, and I think that's a good way to look at it, Jeremy. Exactly what you just said there, psychologically. Swing a little looser.
two to get down. A few struggles here making the one early for these two.
And I believe we saw it made, I think, almost every time in the last match. Maybe not one time, maybe not made in the side, but I wonder what's happened different here.
Yeah, update on 2. Tyler Steyer did get out there. Takes a 5-1 win on his first match.
Yeah, what do you do here? You just punch around 2 rails. Can you avoid the 8, though?
This is tricky. I mean, I think if you just get by the 8, you should track enough. Let's see. Yeah, queuing down.
Yeah, between the 5 and 6, right?
That's right. Hit it beautifully. And when you're playing on the slick table, you almost just have to swing like you know it's going to get there instead of ever forcing it. That way the line of the cue ball doesn't arc, and you usually end up shorter, to be honest with you, when you force it.
Tell you what, his style almost seems like he's lined up before he gets down on the ball sometimes when he powers that long ball. Just don't see it very often. I love it. I think it's a pretty style to watch.
Yeah, Pijus, who's constantly training, getting ready for these tournaments. And, of course, all that training has paid off. Wants it to pay off with a big win, though, and maybe it's the PLP. Looks like Manis and Capito on table 2 for our third match. 2 of the younger players in the field, and they're all pretty young. Well, who's the oldest? Is Shane the oldest in the field? Maybe so.
Yeah, 41 years old. I don't know. I would believe he actually is. Speaking of Shane, there he is. Do we look back? Pink 4, scratching in the side. This match is a big swing. I know it's alternate break, but that can affect you.
Okay, couldn't hold the natural, so smartly came out for more angle. That way he can work the cue ball a little more naturally to the side rail and then back for the 8. I really punched that one a lot. I didn't think he had to create that much angle, but pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I feel like the tip might have come up right at the end on the cue ball. You expected that cue ball to warp a little bit more. Ended up coming up a little flatter than I thought. Not bad, though.
And he's going to take a 3-2 lead. SVB will break. Rack number 6.
Have it. Labutis leading 3 games to 2, and this is a race to 5. Going to take another look at the scratch that I was just alluding to. He just stayed kind of leveled out here where you know you're going to end up somewhere near the side, right? And I think he was trying to get pinpoint perfect versus just take area position, take a little more distance instead of where he ended up, which is in the drink. Shane, a man of many different faces at the table. Hard character to figure out at times. Such a nice guy, easygoing. Loves his ice fishing. He is up for the challenge this week. I saw him this morning at the coffee shop. I said, "Are you ready?" He said, "I am ready." He was pumped up. That's what I'm talking about. The cue ball a little bit more towards the center. Mosconi Cup this year. These guys were breaking more towards the outside where the Europeans were more in this position. Well, the 9 was headed directly to the left center.
Yeah, I think Shane's kind of, if you will, tamed the break a little bit more, taking a little more speed off, which allows you to bring the cue ball in more. Or you almost have to because you're hitting a little thinner 1 ball. He's got to draw this maybe, or does he just roll it in and take the 3 from the center of the table? Kind of like the roll shot if you feel comfortable with the bank.
I liked your decision, really. I thought you could have just rolled that in unless he was worried about the cue ball holding against the left long rail. Trying to get good again on the 3, but boy, he's a favorite to make that 3 from anywhere down here. Shorten the 2 up with the power there. Probably why it was missed. Now he's got to beat the pink here.
Yeah, and the 8's a big ball. Okay, watch out 7-9. Also, that's why I thought the 8 was such a big ball, just because of taking this chance.
He really got into that ball. I mean, really got into it. But that was because he was trying to miss the pink and avoid the 8.
Yeah, there were all kinds of obstacles. And again, from distance, you want to make sure you get the draw on the ball. He's got a rail first behind the pink, maybe. Behind the 9 at the red 3.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an option. I mean, these guys love the jump cue, and they're so good at it. I feel there might be times where the guys overlook a good kick when they've got the short cue.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the short cue, it's kind of like all or nothing here, where the rail first gives you a little bit of a backdoor safety. Looks like he's aiming to hit the bottom of the 3 on the slick table. Oh, no, he hit it really well.
Yeah, he's not going to have an aggressive look on the pink unless he wants to bank it. And he might, since it held up so well here. I'd actually be surprised if he passes up the bank. Here's another look at that kick.
Now, when you look at these banks early in the tournament with the new felt, does the percentage of you making it really affect your decision to shoot at it? Because it is a little harder to judge, that's for sure.
And to your point right there, Jay, a little harder to judge. Was he playing the cue ball? I mean, he was obviously playing it towards the back of the 5, but not like this.
Yeah, well, they kind of add up. The overcut on the pink, maybe it's spread. That tells you a little more cue ball movement. He was definitely playing behind it, but I don't think it was necessarily in that position. Now, super hard kick to judge. Probably wants between the middle and 3rd diamond off that right rail.
I mean, what a spectacular effort that was. Still a little tricky to get out of here, unless he wants to come straight back.
Yeah, I like taking the 5 in the corner. You can handle a lot on the 6. The 7 goes, so just draw this back a foot or so. He came, was he trying to come back for the side? I don't think so. Now he's got to show us a little something.
Yeah, I think he caught it to the right just a touch more than he expected. He was trying to come directly back.
Yeah, well, that kind of shot, you'll notice he added left English. So what happens when the felt's new, you deflect the hair more. Thought he may be more straight draw there and then just cheat the pocket on the pink.
Now got to go back and forth, and that's what caused the miss. Caught it too thin.
And again, the ball's cut a little easier on the new felt. It's got to go a little. Should get there.
Boy, this is a very funny kick. Until you really get the feel of the table, once again, we've touched on this, you're almost guessing in a lot of ways. They're good enough to where they can catch the ball full, but still a big guess.
Yeah, he tried to compensate for the slide there, and I was going to say, as long as you hit center ball there and don't let the cue ball turn over, a lot of times it'll hold its line decent. At least, you know, if you think about it, when you're kicking at a ball like that, you almost have the width of 3 balls, you know, just shy of both sides, right? So there's like, you got 7/8 of the width of a ball on each side to hit at. So that's why these players figure they like their chances. It's more than just that 1 ball target.
And a big miss on the 5 by Labutis, trying to get to the 6. It's going to allow Shane to tie this up.
All right, SVB ties it at 3 apiece in the first game over between Capito and AJ Manis. It would be Labutis to break in rack number 7. Here's a look at young AJ. Now we saw him, of course, in Hanoi. Don't recall seeing him in Europe prior to this event. Came in a few days ago. Had a long trip after getting that invitation, but young man, he can handle it. And boy, you know, for him and Cledio, of course, Cledio's been out here beating players for a couple seasons on the World 9-Ball Tour, but even so, what a big opportunity for both these youngsters. All right, there's the one down. Looks like the cue ball's right behind it. You get some of those golden breaks with these kisses, but you also lose the white rock at times. Also, you know, kind of comes and goes both ways. All right, just get to the center of the table. Love to get kind of close to the 3. That way you may, you know, play the pink in the side. That way you're not getting funny on the pink to get on that purple up the table. So I'd like to be aggressive coming 1 rail at the 3 here. Try and get that extra foot closer. Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, he chose to come all the way around, and this is... I liked your call, Jeremy, playing the pink to the left side there. I feel like this is danger. Maybe he's just not comfortable with rolling the ball. Shane's never been the type of player to roll the ball very often. I wonder if that had some influence on what just happened there.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to figure it out because he overcut the 3 to the pocket. So that tells me maybe he was trying to play for the side and it just got away, because if you hit it to the center, you would have come more at the pink. Maybe bump it.
Well, his speed's been off a few times in this match.
Yeah, but in this rack, it was always the 4 to the 5 to the 6 that looked like the real work in the rack. So
I don't believe he can make this. Could be misled.
No, he snookered, but can he dodge the double kiss trying to play safe? Or is he banging it around? Oh, he can make it. Little swerve, little use of that right spin.
Yeah, and this is a tester, but just a shot like this can really set the tone for the rest of your event, right? Jeremy's said it many times. I don't know if there's any other guy on the planet he'd rather have shooting it. I include myself in that opinion.
Yeah, with the top ball as well.
Gosh, he gets up for those big-time shots, doesn't he? What a hit.
Yeah, well, you try to avoid them, but you know they're going to come up. And if you've ever worked with Shane or been beside him while he was working, sometimes he goes through, like, not only hours, but days of hours just shooting jacked up shots with a lot of speed, different ways. And whether that's something mental that gets him going, we certainly all have those types of shots we like to shoot. Mine was spot shots a lot of times back in the day, but they are going to come up, so why not have it in the bag?
And you got to say that shot there will get him going. Young AJ Manis wins game number 1 on table number 2 versus Robbie Capito. Also just earned ball in hand.
Yeah, and you think about those two players. Here's another look at AJ wearing his colors from home. But think about those two players. How many decades are they going to be playing together and against each other? Of course, Capito, who lives and represents Hong Kong, has lived there most of his life. But of course, Filipino blood.
Yeah, really my favorite player to watch, the guy at the table here. Makes it so effortless, obviously. Hours and hours of work, but that long stroke gets through the ball so clean. Jeremy touched on it a little earlier. Back to SVP.
They're poured in on this break, and There's been a few banks missed, but you gotta believe it's gonna go again. Especially if he can hold it for position on the pink 4, that being the red 3. I think it sits just kind of perfect to hit it medium, maybe lose the cue ball an inch or two to the right, his right.
Yeah, it might tuck down just a bit. Boy, in this format, Jeremy, is the defensive play carry more value, or do you get yourself going, especially after the last long shot that he just played?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, kind of let myself play into trying to make a plan rather than starting with a plan.
I believe he's just coming down below the 4 here. All right, he is going. That's the speed. He did come below the 4.
Man, he has always a tough shot when you're on top of the ball. Hard to gauge, really, the line on the cue ball to the object ball, obviously, with no space, but he's got a pretty easy clip shot to play safe. So he's going to use the 9 here. Maybe nestle behind the purple 5-ish.
Yeah, he's got him completely covered. The back rail is available. You come to the second rail here, get more done with it. That 9, a big ball, kicking from behind the 4 either way here.
I think I like the bottom cushion. I mean, 2 rails is obviously, you get separation and whatnot, but the further it comes up, the harder it is to get separation because the 4 is going to want to track upward a hair also.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think coming off the bottom rail, you've also got the 6 and 7 that might provide cover.
Yeah, I think you try to kick it in that upper left also. Beautiful hit, though. I mean, just about as much as he could get out of it because they're always trying to play the cue ball speed to the top cushion, and you see that was really good, so he hit it pretty much how he wanted.
Yeah, and this is another one of those long ones, but this is a little different here. Can you punch to this left long rail and to the bottom rail? I don't even know. If he wants to take this on, you'd have to be extremely elevated, wouldn't you, Jeremy?
Yeah, that shot he hit, in the last rack, forcing forward, going through the ball. That would be pretty ideal here, but I think he's flirting with the scratch. I'm not sure. Yeah, leveled out the cue a little more, got to this bottom cushion, but no favors here.
Wow, that angle misled me quite a bit. I didn't think he could beat the corner down here on the low side. Got half the job done right, Jay, but how do you get to the green 6? This is trouble.
I don't think he can, really. You could roll it in and get over for a safety, but you may even snooker yourself on. Maybe play from underneath on the 6.
Yeah, I like it. Gotta avoid the 9, though. Gotta avoid the 9. Pretty good there.
Yeah, really good. And you can see a little body English, so even knowing he's got to play 15 matches, he wants it. And I think that's where Shane will definitely have an advantage over some. Some of those tricky shots on the slick table, I think he'll understand a bit more than others. Now he's going to open the 6 here, I believe. Yeah, it's going to be like stop, stop, stop. Let me move from the 8 to the 9.
Did he fall to where he up? He's got all types of options for the 7. Could go into the same pocket as the green 6 or to the top left.
Yeah, and I credit that. I talk about that with Skylar Woodward all the time, and everyone always talks about, you got to play on the 9-foot, which I agree. And this is where the money's made for the Pro Tour. But all those years of experience on the 7-foot table I think really shows up here and there, like those little shots right there, being able to manipulate the cue ball in short quarters, small quarters like that. I think, of course, Shane has spent a ton of time through his career on the 7-footer, and I think it does come up. And you have a little more in your arsenal just from those unique situations, being in those smaller playing fields.
But what is this? Very wild there.
I didn't think that was necessary at all.
No, I think he's just trying to get the stroke loosened up, but no reason whatsoever here, the way this is laying. Take a look. Why are you trying to come around, Dan Boening?
Yeah, and like you said, the only reason I could figure is to try and get a little feel. All right, hard to chop this back and really play the cue ball real well. Oh, he played the bank. Thought it was in.
You know, he's going to get a ticket for jaywalking. We're about to be tied up at 4 apiece. Labutis, he'll take it. Jeremy, a little bit stunned that he played the 8 the way he did. I can't get over it.
Yeah, and we'll see. And of course, we'll have interviews with these players throughout the event as things start to heat up more. But our first hill, I believe.
And our previous match here on net went down to Johan Chua, 5-3. AJ Manis leads 2-1 on table number 2 versus Capito.
I broke him really well and kind of feel like he deserved a little bit more, especially after the big mistake from SVB.
Yeah, typically you get punished after a mistake like that, but it's also hill, and it's never straightforward when it's hill.
Yeah, good point. Very rarely see a break and run at hill, it seems, especially as the event moves on. Should be a kick shot. That'll be the push out, you would think anyways. Don't think with all the balls there you can offer much of the 2. A direct look anyways.
Yeah, where are you going here, though, with the 2 is my question. Do you have any protection up table kicking from the backside of it? What do you see, Jay?
Well, Shane didn't even get out of his chair, but a lot of times you should be able to control this, and on the slick table, just take your chances. Trying to use the 9, maybe you get them elevated over the pink 4 and the black 8, but just trying to control the 2 to the right long rail and then to the top cushion. He's kind of elevated, so you don't want to be swerving into this one.
Yeah, because then you can't get away from the 2 at all, right? You really just have to force that cue ball, the 2 ball to the top rail and just hope for the best, but you aren't going to get the distance you wished.
No, you're definitely not. And what happens is, look at here. He's cut himself off this much. So, hate to say, but a pretty big mistake with the push out, which should rarely happen, actually.
Still some good things can happen here, but he's got to make contact. He's tied the pink 4 up.
Yeah, but Shane can draw and open this right now, I believe. Just clipping the good edge of the black 8 and have position on the red 3. You don't see him really picking anything apart at the moment, so I think it's there.
Just don't want to get stuck behind something.
All right, kind of punched it. Did it come clean somehow? It did. Maybe a 4-9 combination in the side.
He's kind of fortunate he didn't get stuck behind something the way he played it.
I totally agree. And again, the tip comes up quite often when you're stretched, it seems. I like the draw stroke here, just kind of come back, and I think the 4-9 is playable.
Boy, really got to get into this. Oh boy, how good is he?
Yeah, I think the combination is definitely playable. So maybe fortunate to get away with this one. SVB with the win 5-4 over Labutis. Of course, they'll both be back today. And so we will too, so stay tuned for more PLP in about 5 minutes time.